Good afternoon. Welcome to Grade 12 English First Additional Language. Today we are continuing with the poetry lessons. The poem we are going to do today is called Poem. I would recommend that you sit with your poem and your notes, that you can highlight and add notes while I am explaining. It is a beautiful day to learn something new, so here we go. As I said, the name of the poem is Poem. And before we start, I want to tell you a story because this poem is about how you use your words. Now, there was this little girl who was extremely excited to go to high school. And the night before school started, her mother called her into the kitchen and she gave her a tube of toothpaste and a plate. And the mother told the little girl to squeeze all of the toothpaste onto the plate. And the little girl did it. And when she was done, her mom said she asked her to put it all back into the tube. Well, obviously, the girl was confused and she said, but it is not possible. And her mom answered her, just like this toothpaste, once the words leave your mouth, you can't take them back. So use your words carefully. Be known for your gentleness and compassion. Let's read the poem. We do not need these jagged words that dig a trench between us each time they are uttered. Those epithets, sharp like spokes, that pierce the heart when spoken. There is no room in my cup for these acidic words of sarcasm that corrode my sensitivity. These cold and icy words tossed to deaden the heart, venomous words from your serpentine tongue that infect the feeling. Let us speak, love, in gentler tones. Timid as the lamb is soft, woolly words, worn to stand strong against the cold bitterness of the world. Better still, let us search for words deep as the soul is still, that will spell our thoughts in the silence of our smile. Now, the type of poem, this is a poem written in free verse, but it's a lyric poem where the speaker expresses his own thoughts about the effects of words on people. You will see he has thoughts on the negative way people talk, on the positive way people talk. Remember, when you answer questions in a literature paper on poetry, you will always get the 3 T's: tone, title, and theme. So for each poem that you prepare for a test or an exam paper, you must know the tone, about the title, and all of the themes. Now, in this poem, in stanza 1 and 2, the poem is critical and argumentative. It is as if the poet expresses disapproval of his partner and himself, the both of them. You will also see he starts his poem with the word we to show us it includes himself. So tone is about what you hear. In stanza 1 and 2, it's critical and argumentative. It expresses the disapproval of his partner and himself. In stanza 3 and 4, it changes a bit. The poet gets more reproachful. So he becomes more accusatory of his partner. He believes that his partner has done something wrong. He is accusing the partner of something. And then in stanza 5 and 6, the tone totally changes to one of being more gentle and forgiving. So in stanza 5 and 6, the poet is now trying to convince the reader that words can be used for uplifting purposes. So in other words, words can be used in a positive way. The next T is title. Now the title here is poem, Now, some people believe a poem is the purest form of communication. And like communication, poetry is open to different interpretation. So people can understand it differently. And maybe it is easier for the poet to express his emotions in writing because confrontation is a lot of the times very difficult. The two themes we see in this poem is the power of words, first of all, and love and hate. Now, with the power of words, communication can be used in a positive and a negative way. You will see in the first few stanzas, the poet is talking about the negative, destructive way that people are using words to damage relationships and to damage other people. And then in the last two stanzas, he is showing us how to use the words in a positive, uplifting way. And then love and hate is shown by the type of words spoken by the people. Remember, when you answer a question on themes, make very sure what the question asks you. Write down your point. Explain the point you are making. And extremely important, give an example from the poem. You can't just give generic answers without examples. You will not get the marks for that. And the last thing you need to do is to link your answer to the question. Right, so make your point, explain it, give an example, so very important, and link your answer to your question again. A short summary. In this poem, we will see not only words are used in communication, but tone, in other words, what you hear. And tone is how you say something, is just as important, and non-verbal clues like crossing your arms or turning away, that gives its own message. The first three stanzas discuss the effect and power of destructive, negative communication. And then the last two stanzas are the poet's solution to healthy communication. If we look at line 1, we do not need. First of all, we see this is an apostrophe. Now, apostrophe in literature, remember, it's a figure of speech in which a speaker directly addresses an absent or dead person or an abstract quality or something non-human as if it were present and capable of responding. In this line, the poet is talking to another person who is not present. The use of the word we is done on purpose because it gives the poem a universal approach. In other words, it includes everyone. It includes the reader. And this also, the use of the word we indicates that the speaker and the listener are guilty of using destructive words. And that again brings us back to the tone in stanza 1 and 2, where he expresses disapproval of his partner and himself. The word do tells us line 1 is in the present tense. So this speaker is currently involved in an argument. This is happening now. We do not need. So we see something is going to follow. He is now going to tell us what he does not need. So in line 2, he's starting with the things that are destructive, and that will be discussed. In line 2, these jagged words. Now the word these, like in line 1, the word do that referred to the present tense, these shows us it's an immediate argument. The word jagged. Now the word jagged without the R has been changed to jagged. The R that has been included was done on purpose because it emphasizes the brutality of the words between the people. Because the word jagged refers to something with sharp, serrated edges, like a knife. So line 2 in itself is a metaphor. Hurtful words are compared to the sharp edges of a knife. And just like a knife can inflict painful wounds, negative words can inflict painful emotional wounds. Line 3 and 4, that dig a trench between us each time they are uttered. That dig a trench. Now, a trench is a long, narrow ditch or furrow. A trench was used by soldiers to protect them from enemy attack. So we see here the connotation of warfare. This relationship is like a battlefield. They are like two enemies fighting for survival. Each time, the word each tells us it happens frequently. That's an occurrence that happens often. They are uttered. Uttered means to speak the words, and they are the words spoken by the two people. So line 3 in itself is a metaphor and personification. The metaphor, hurtful words create distance. That is the trench. Distance, just as someone digging a trench, a ditch. Personification. Remember, personification is to give human characteristics to something that is not human. So the words are given human characteristics. Words are like people. They are able to dig a trench, to create a barrier that divides the people. As I said in the beginning, the tone here is still critical and argumentative because the poet expresses disapproval of his partner and himself. In line 5, we start with stanza 2, line 5 and 6. Those epithets, sharp like spokes. Now, an epithet is hurtful name-calling or insulting words, a term to abuse or to label someone. For instance, if you would call someone an idiot or ugly or useless, that's an epithet. A spoke is the wire rod connecting the center of a wheel to its outer edge. Now, the physical damage done by a spoke penetrates much deeper than a knife. So these words, these hurtful name-calling, these insulting words, these epithets, kill emotions and sensitivity. And in line 6, the poet uses the following simile. He says, hurtful name-calling is compared to the sharp spokes of a wheel. It's used as a weapon to stab and kill. Not only hurt, it's to stab and to kill. That is the effect of those hurtful name-calling, those insulting words, that term that you use to abuse or label someone. They stab and kill. Line 7, what it is talking about, those words, what are they doing? That pierce the heart when spoken. Now the word pierce means to stab, to penetrate. So it's a strong verb that indicates force and violence. The heart is the center of one's feelings. So these words puncture the heart in a violent way. So in line 7, the speaker emphasizes the intense emotional effect that thoughtless words can have on a person. In line 8, we move over to stanza 3. And now this is where the tone change. In this stanza, the poet takes the tone of the victim. It is like he is the one suffering the abuse, where in stanza 1, it was like they were both responsible. So when he says there is no room, the words no room refers to he cannot cope with more destructive words. He does not want to endure the sharp words of criticism that makes him feel sad and helpless. So from line 8, the poet feels resentful. He's the victim of someone else's words. And the tone change here to accusatory. He becomes accusatory of his partner. He believes that his partner has done something wrong. The word cup is a metaphor. The cup referred to his daily life. It becomes a metaphor for words he has to put up with. He is unable to stop the constant flow of negative words. Line 9 and 10, still part of stanza 3. For these acidic words of sarcasm that corrode my sensitivity. Now, acid is a corrosive substance that eats into metal until there is nothing left, or whatever is left, you cannot use it anymore. And if acid touches the skin, it causes a continuous burning sensation. Now, these acidic words, now he's saying the effect of bitter and sarcastic words is compared to the destructive effect that acid has on different objects. The damage is permanent. There's nothing you can do to fix it. The word sarcasm refers to hurtful language. Sarcastic words are compared to acid that will eat away every part of his being. That's his sensitivity, his sensitive nature. Together with the word acid, we get the word corrode. Okay, when metal corrodes, it's slowly destroyed. It is slowly destroyed by a chemical action. So to corrode means something is destroyed. What is destroyed here? His sensitive nature. By what? This hurtful language, the sarcastic words that are like acid. And the damage is permanent. Line 11 and line 12, stanza 4. These cold and icy words tossed that deaden the heart. Now the cold and icy words, the cold and icy in itself is a metaphor. Harsh and unsympathetic words are compared to ice that removes heat and again not only hurt but kill. Harsh words freezes the ability to feel or show feelings. The cold words are tossed. To be tossed, means to throw something down in a careless manner. When words are thrown around, it is with the intention to hurt. And what happens then? That deaden the heart. Now, the word deaden is the climax of the previous words. The word pierce in line 7 when he referred to the spokes that stabbed or penetrated the heart. The word corrode in line 10. Corrode means to destroy. And now the word tossed in line 11 to throw something down in a careless manner. And all of those things build up to the climax. And what does it cause? It causes deaden. It kills all feelings. Line 13 and 14. Venomous words from your serpentine tongue. Venomous. Venom is poison. So venomous is poisonous words. Poisonous words means destructive words. Again, poison does not only hurt. Poison kills. From your serpentine tongue. Those venomous words in itself is a metaphor. The effect of destructive, harmful words is being compared to the effect of a poisonous snake bite. It is just as harmful, and look at the word, and deadly. Poison does not only hurt, it kills. Those words are so destructive, so harmful, that it is compared to the effect of a poisonous snake bite. It is deadly. From your serpentine tongue. First of all, let's look at the allusion. Allusion being the serpent refers to the Bible and the Garden of Eden. Now, if you think about the snake in the Garden of Eden, immediately you think of lies and evil, because that is what the snake is associated with. A snake and a serpent is the same thing. So it links with the word venomous, showing us what kind of poisonous creature the hurtful words are compared to. Line 15, last line of stanza 4, that infect the feeling. Now, the effect of the harmful words is like an infectious disease, causing a lot of pain. The feeling, this person will lose all feeling. He will build a barrier to not be affected by cruel words. He will stop caring about what people are saying to him. And then the poet ends line 15 with an ellipsis. The ellipsis means that something has been left out. It's been omitted. So the speaker has not named all the damage that harmful words have on people. There is still a never-ending list. He has just named but a few, and the ellipsis is there to tell us that it's ongoing. He has left out a lot of things. He can still go on and tell us about a lot of damage that these harmful words had on people. And then in stanza 5, in line 16 and 17, the tone changes. It changes to one that is gentler and forgiving. Remember, the poet is now going to try to convince the reader that words can be used for uplifting purposes. Let us speak, love, in gentler tones. Now again, we have an apostrophe. The poet or the speaker is directly addressing an absent or dead person or an abstract quality or something not human. But here he is speaking to someone directly, someone who is not present. Apostrophe. In gentler tones, look at the alliteration of the L. It introduces a more sympathetic or caring attitude. He starts with let us. So he is proposing a solution to the communication problems by using us. He states that all people should work together to solve the problem. This will not be solved only from one side. People must work together. Therefore, he's using the word us. Let us speak. How do we know this is an apostrophe? Look at the positioning of the comma. The comma is just before the word love, so he is addressing someone directly. And how? In gentler tones. Now he's saying your tone of voice is just as important to let someone know how you feel. Remember, tone is about what you hear. Not only words are used in communication. He goes on in line 18 and 19, where he says, timid as the lamb is soft. This is now, remember, where he is trying to convince the reader that words can be used for uplifting purposes. Contrast with the beginning of the poem. He's trying to tell us how are we supposed to use our words. Now, timid means in this context unable to inflict intentional harm. So different than the intentional way that people try to hurt each other in the previous part of the poem. Timid as the lamb. The lamb immediately is a biblical reference. It's a person who is meek and mild. A lamb is also symbolical of forgiveness and sacrifice. Sacrifice, placing someone else before yourself. And then is soft in line 19. Soft refers to the tone in which words should be spoken. Gentle and soothing. Soft and kind. Meek and mild. The word as tells us it's a simile. The lamb here is associated with kindness, and so too should words be used in a gentle and uplifting manner. Line 20, woolly words. The alliteration of the W emphasizes that kind words have the same effect on us as warm clothes or a warm blanket or warm socks have against the bitter cold. Line 20 is a metaphor. Kind and reassuring words are as soothing as the soft winter jersey. So it has the same effect. What does it do? It protects you from the cold and it makes you feel loved. Line 21 and line 22. Warned to stand strong against the cold bitterness of the world. He starts line 21 with the word warn. So he's saying you should wrap yourself in words that are soothing and caring and kind. To do what? To stand strong. Those words can protect you. It can be protective like a woolen blanket. Against what? Against the cold bitterness of the world. The word cold bitterness is written as a compound word to emphasize the harshness of this world. Cold bitterness is also a metaphor. The cruel world, with all its problems, is compared to the effect of bitterly cold weather on the body. So what he's saying here is soft words of comfort are used to help you stand strong in a world that seems to be distant and full of bitterness and abusive words. And then we go on in line 23 and 24 in stanza 6, where he says, better still. So here the speaker suggests a better suggestion to ensure good communication. Even a better solution. Let's rather do this. And then in line 24 he says, let us search in our speech. Again, let us. Like in line 16, where he started with let us. He shows us it must be a combined effort because it surely will fail if it is one-sided. We have to work together. And then he says to search in our speech. The word search means to make a deliberate effort to choose your words wisely. Your words should be meaningful and inspiring. You have to think before you speak. You have to look for the right words to use to heal rather than to harm. Then we have the alliteration of the S in line 24 with search and speech that continue in line 25 with soul and still, where he says, for words deep as the soul is still. The alliteration of the S sound emphasizes a calm atmosphere. The word soul refers to the spiritual part of a person, his inner being and character. And the simile he uses here is words are compared to a person's soul as they have deep significance for people. Words should speak of calmness, similar to the calmness you would find in your deepest soul. Line 26 and 27, that will spell our thoughts in the silence of our smiles. Now that will spell, the word spell is we must put our thoughts into words. We must explain them in the silence of our smiles. The alliteration of the S is almost a sh sound that is associated with silence. So the words, the war in the beginning, where the words dug a trench to divide people, those words have become loving and caring thoughts. The metaphor here is we should choose our words correctly, words that have their origin in a pure soul. And then thoughts in the silence of our smiles. So he's saying sometimes words are not needed. It's not necessary to say something. Only deep thoughts and silent smiles. Because this will have a positive effect on the person we want to communicate with. Our words, as well as our silence, should reflect a positive and peaceful attitude. So again, we see the tone here of where the poet is now trying to convince the reader that words can be used for uplifting purposes. Right. It's the tone of forgiveness and the tone of gentleness. It's not always necessary to say something. Tone is about what you hear. And our silences is about our body language and what the other person sees. And this will have a positive effect on the person we want to communicate with, as long as our words and our silences reflect a positive and peaceful attitude. Your words will outlive your lifetime. Use them wisely. This concludes the lesson on the poem. I sincerely hope that all of you enjoyed it as much as I did. Have a wonderful afternoon. Make wise choices. Goodbye.